named Kevin Samuels, and but basically he is I think he does like image consulting. He's a fairly successful man in that field, but he is extremely bitter, and people are referring to him as a nig cell. It's a play off of where there's incel just with nig in front of it. But that, even though he has at least one marriage and at least one child, not a lot of details, you don't really see him next to women, yet he's always giving his own critiques of women, talking to women online and whatnot, and giving his critiques of them and saying that, like, oh, what do you think about yourself, and saying that, no, see, you're delusional, and just really just violating all these women and really just trying to break them down, and it's just super uncalled for. And it gets framed as he frames it as he's a high value man and he can recognize low value women. But all the women that he's talking to are all women that are, safe to say, they're not living the same type of life that he is. They haven't done the same things. They haven't had the same opportunities, maybe. But you don't really see him aiming that energy towards women of similar status, and there's a reason for that. But let's get into this little compilation here. Let's see what he has to. Let's see some of these interactions.
To debate, and got news for you. Men don't like that.
I know they don't. So that's what I'm saying. I literally studied politics and debating and stuff like that. So for women like me, am I just doomed to be like,
you keep validating why you're important, why you're special, why you matter. Do men keep you?
no.
There you go. That's all that really matters right there.
But do I
Nope,
keep
nope,
them?
nope,
No, I
nope.
don't.
See, and this is what I need you guys to understand. This is what I need you guys to understand. This woman, if you don't get it together, you will die alone. So your son makes something of himself. He becomes an attorney. You think that he should bring home a woman with 3 kids by 2 different dudes?
I think he should bring home whoever he please, whoever he's happy with.
Right.
Just because a woman
Right.
doesn't have a kid doesn't mean that you're going to be happy with her.
Ma'am, where's your husband?
I've turned down 2 proposals because,
Okay,
oh my
how
God,
many
I don't
children
even
do
want to
you
go
have?
there.
How many children do you have?
I have 1 child.
Okay, why are you so upset that I'm telling the reality that men want? Or should you wait till you get to the level and then open the floodgates?
Right.
There's not going to be any floodgates.
Why do you say that?
You'll be 35 years old with a 6-year-old and a teenager, both by 2 lower earning men. Why would a man who's making a $500,000 plus want to deal with that?
Like, where does that come from? Why do you ask a woman to rate her?
What is my profession?
Hell,
What is my profession?
you're a consultant.
I'm an image consultant. I don't ask them for no reason, and they know why they're coming here
Why do you ask them?
because it matters. What do you do? What's your profession? Because I'm not familiar with you.
I'm a hustler and a street walker.
Okay, congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, but I'm assuming that your looks play some portion in your success.
No, sometimes I like to trick my men. I like to go out there real bummy and just see who I can.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Even dressing real bummy, you can only get so low.
How?
I'm sorry, you can't be a one if you tried to be. I understand the kind of men that these women say they don't want busted, disgusted women that weigh more than they do.
This man's crazy.
I don't care about your attraction. I don't care about love either. Why do you women think you get it all?
So listen. So on one hand, yeah, there is a point to be made that, like, some people in, the quote unquote dating marketplace, right? Because face the facts, a lot of people do look at it as like that they're looking to trade. They look at it as a trade of certain features or attributes or things that they're bringing to the table, and what the other party is bringing to the table. I am somebody that tends to look at it like that, not in the extremes that Kevin Samuels or the women in these compilations do, but that, yeah, we are looking, again, compatibility. We're looking for an exchange. You bring this to the table, I'm looking for this, and I'll bring that, which you're looking for that, right? But I'm saying those first, like those first few women that he was talking to, I'm saying, why should a man, want to have, a woman like that? Is that, again, maybe a dude already has those things and he's just looking for somebody, you know, who he's compatible with. So what if she already has one child? You know what I'm saying? Now you could say it's kind of silly for this random woman who is not in the circle of people who make $500,000 to think that she's just going to randomly pull a dude like that, unless like she is making attempts to enter that circle, right? But at the same time, I'm sure it's going to get a lot more brutal, because these haven't been too, you know, brutal. That last woman he was talking to, that was hilarious. She's like, I'm a hustler and a streetwalker, which it's like, how do you go and say something that's so like ambiguous, you know what I'm saying, and it could mean anything. I'm a hustler, baby. And then going and explicitly saying that I'm a streetwalker, you know what I'm saying? It's like, yeah, I work in my own independent contracting and I'm an escort. It's like, you know, you could have just left it at, you know, I'm an independent contractor, you know what I'm saying? I have regular clientele and whatnot. You know, I'm doing all right. It's like, yeah, it's like saying I run a small business and I trap outside of, you know what I'm saying, 1513 Willowbrook, you know what I'm saying, Avenue and shit. You know what I'm saying? Come holla at me. It's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? You know, but let's continue on to see if he gets more, because he really like going all in on some of these women.
What makes you so special that you get it all?
Men get it all the time. So yeah.
No, we don't. And we accept what we get.
It's tragic.
No, man, you got a choice. Because here's the thing. Here's the reality. Are you ready? The reality is what you have to negotiate with right now has a time limit on it. It will spoil. It will get old. And what you have today, it won't be worth the same thing 5 years from now. Because it ain't worth the same thing as it was 5 years ago. So after this is over, because it seems like you have maybe some girlfriends around or people around, I'm not saying this to be hurtful, man, but you got to tone this down and really come down. You're going to have to really ask, what do these men want that I want? And then what matters more? Do you need this, that, and attraction, and this?
Now, but I don't think I have to settle with a man that I don't find
Okay,
handsome.
let's do it. Well, what would you rate yourself on a scale from 1 to 10? Just your face. You cannot use 7.
A 10.
Oh, poor baby. Now let's try this again.
I have a boy.
God bless. So you
Absolutely.
no. So you think a woman who's not under the leadership of any man is capable and qualified of leading a boy into masculine manhood?
No, I absolutely think it's a hard job. Absolutely.
No, I asked you, is it okay? And the reason so many of our boys are so soft today is because so many women are like yourself, not under anyone's leadership. Why didn't you marry his father?
But do you think that was
Why didn't you marry his
decision?
father? Yes, it's your problem. Yep, it's your problem.
No,
Why
it's my problem.
Why didn't you marry his father?
I didn't marry his father. Okay, I'm gonna be honest. That was my decision. I was younger at that time, and that's still not.
If you ranked yourself, honestly,
You know, these are all arguments, you know, that have been, you know, said before. You know, he's asking women to rank themselves. You know, I mean, the thing is, again, the whole compatibility thing, different people, you know, saying have their different expectations and, you know, sure people, you know, some, you know, think about it in terms of a grading system, and whatnot. But, man, this dude, I mean, he really just has such and you see it coming through when he was talking about the whole, like, you know, men raising boys and shit like that. And it's like, listen, you know what I'm saying? No one person, you know, girl, that's like saying that, like, oh, you put a girl around any random group of girls or around a bunch of guys, or let's just say you put a random girl with a bunch of random, you know, girls, other random women, and that they'll come out all right. It's like, no, we need different you know what I'm saying? You pick up on different traits from different people, and that's not necessarily tied to somebody explicitly like being a male or being a female, but that there are, saying are certain behaviors, certain expressions and ways of doing things that, saying are unique, saying across sexuality, across sex, across gender, across orientation, and across, individuals and cultures and all that good shit. And so having a well-rounded experience is a thing that we should all, see be valuing. And it's like, while on one hand you could be saying, oh, okay, the woman who was mentioning why she didn't marry her baby's father and everything, and kind of trying to dance around it. It's like, look, he could have been scummy. She could have realized after the pregnancy that this really wasn't something that she should just she shouldn't just, let him put a ring on it just because, that it was better for her to be, to be single. And the thing, a common thing that gets brought up, especially about, saying black children and the black households and whatnot, is that, so many men are, absent fathers, and without answering the fact that, like, well, a lot of black men have been put in jail, saying under a criminal system that operates primarily on that's really effectively slavery, right? That operates out of getting free labor out of people and punishing people. Oftentimes the punishment doesn't fit the crime, or they are not actually guilty of any crime at all, and they're just milked for any resource, any money that they possibly have, and then discarded. Right, so there are a lot of black men, black people especially, that are targeted by law enforcement, by the justice system, by the criminal saying courts and everything, and saying experiencing higher levels of poverty, higher levels of which usually means that you're going to then go and engage in illicit activities to try to make a living, which puts you in greater harm's way, and also including running afoul of the law and everything. But shit, I forgot where I was going. But in any case, it's like those are just other factors that go into the discussion of why black fathers are absent. Oh, the point I was trying to get to is that, yeah, while the biological father may now be around, it's common for other men to be playing that role, whether it's other relatives, saying such as somebody's uncles or grandfathers, or saying cousins and uncles and whatnot, to other men that enter the life who have no relation to either party. Black men have, plenty of, father figures, male figures, maybe not the best ones, but there's no shortage of them. But let's get back to Kevin Samuels.
Think to yourself on a scale of 1 to 10. What would you do? Yeah, let's get back to reality.
No, I'm in reality.
No, you're not in reality.
I'm in reality.
You're not in reality. If you're gonna be a 10, we can end this, because that's not reality. You're not a supermodel.
So what are you basing?
You're not okay, man. Check the attitude. Let me just go ahead and say this. This bullshit that's running around with black women, they call yourself a 10, never say you don't. That is some of the most destructive psychobabble that's going around. I'm just saying it's worldly.
Well, you see, Kevin, I come from inner poverty, and I wasn't raised with much, but after my international travels, I see what I deserve in my life.
Deserve, do you? Deserve.
Yes.
Tell me why you deserve what somebody else has.
I never said that.
But what do you mean? Tell me what you deserve.
I deserve money because I'm intelligent.
So, every intelligent person, are you a member of Mensa?
What's Mensa?
The Society for Genius Level Intellects.
Oh, well, I've never heard of this.
Black men are married to black women at what rate?
I'm not dealing with rape. I'm dealing with facts of what I
No, I'm
see
dealing
and what
with
I know.
rates. I'm dealing
Listen,
with
you
no,
do
no,
the
hold
math.
on, no,
You
no,
have
no,
time
no,
to-
What rate when black men are married? What rate are they married to black women?
From what I was talking about in my perspective and what I see based on television, the media, what
I'm
the media
basing it on
feeds us.
actual data.
Because you have time for that, Kevin.
Well, then don't talk about it, ma'am.
I'm gonna show.
Childless. 64% are in the middle class. Black men in this country are 2 million less than you, marriageable. Yet we are 847,000 more marriages than you. It ain't the problem with the men. The problem in our community is women like you.
It's their reality. You're going by statistics in a book based on a certain audience and a certain
No,
jurisdiction.
ma'am, I'm going by black demo. Okay, so audience, what I need to do is go back to the beginning of the broadcast when I said my truth and subjective and
Now, the last one, actually, I'm going to side with Kevin on that one because I remember there was another woman, because this is a common thing that gets brought up that black men don't marry black women. And then you actually pull up the stats, and it's like, no, across the board, lower levels, middle level, and higher level, just like most other groups, ethnicities, and everything, the majority of black men are married to black or dating black women. For some reason, it really not for some reasons, not as if we don't know, but it really perturbs a lot of people. Have a lot of sensitivities about people dating outside their ethnic group, and of one that has been very vocal because of the anti-blackness and the way in which black femininity is disregarded and black women are over-sexualized has been black women. Anytime they see a black man with a non-black woman, they saying some of them have a really negative reaction. Yeah, the thing about Kevin is, and somebody else have brought this up, is that like some people try to say like, oh, he's running game and shit like that. Really, he's just letting out the bitterness that a lot of men feel because he's in a place where he's very secure and doesn't necessarily need the approval of mainstream society, so he can talk this way to women. Now, those things that he said to me, or it's not to me, but those things that he said, from my perspective, didn't bring as much of a reaction out of me as some people, because I've heard this shit before. I've heard a lot of this shit over the past decade from less well-groomed men and from those who weren't as well put together and everything. But it's the same shit. It's whatever negative experiences, whatever bad experiences that he's had with women, he is now just letting that just spew out like on a fire hose in every fucking direction. And yeah, while again, on one hand, it can be said that some of these women maybe have their own delusions. People can be in a state of delusion and have a sense of entitlement. What he's doing is not actually addressing that shit. He's just saying, "Oh, you think you're a 10? Well, I'm gonna tell you what you think you are." And it's like, dude, like, there's not a you're not guiding them out of fuck, what the fuck am I trying to say? What the fuck am I trying to say? But this isn't guiding people out of anything. This isn't guiding people away from those perspectives and everything. This is just you really playing with your food. He's engaging with women whom clearly are not, in a ready to talk about these subjects in the way that he is. And I haven't seen him make any attempts to talk to somebody who's at the comparable, level of engaging in these matters. These are just regular women whom, felt a certain kind of way and whom he allows himself to talk to. Another person who does this is Jordan Peterson, who I talked about earlier, and other figures like Ben Shapiro. A lot of them, people like this, they will be very selective with who they talk about or who they talk to, because they know that anybody who actually knows their shit will embarrass them, and they won't be taken nearly as seriously even by their own followers. Rodent FPS says, what do you think of the Candace tariff that President Biden plans to implement by 2022? The Candace tariff? I don't even know what that is. Did you come to say anything relevant, or are you just being fucking meaningless? You feel meaningless right now. Rodent FPS. Kevin Samuels. Oh yeah, here's this other person. Now this motherfucker, a lot of people find him Dr. Umar Johnson on interracial dating. He's a hotep. He's basically like a black separatist, a black nationalist. He thinks that segregation was one of the worst things to happen. He believes that black folks should live in segregated places apart from white people and other groups. He thinks that only black people should date other black people. He's basically the male version of the woman that I just mentioned, the black woman that gets upset when they see a black man with a non-black woman. He's basically the male version of that. Yeah, wrote an FPS. I don't know if you feel it sound a little lost. You said you sound a little lost. Let's see. Oh God, that one's too long. Let's look at the short one.
Let me ask you a question, Dr. Umar. Are you totally against interracial relationships?
I am totally against it, and I want to make sure you understand why. It's not because. Cut it out, Envy. Cut it out, Envy.
Don't do that, Envy. I'm gonna be having a serious conversation.
We have a name for it. We have a name for it.
Okay.
The snow bunny crisis.
Okay.
I am against the snow bunny crisis, and I want your white listeners to understand, because people be trying to say stuff like, he's the black Hitler. I'm not the black Hitler. I am in no way interested in hurting or harming the life of any human, white, Asian, Chinese. I believe in respecting everybody. The reason I'm against interracial marriage, Envy and Charlemagne, is because
I'm talking. I don't care if they African, Ugandan, you know what I'm saying, Nigerian, South African, whatever. You know what I'm saying? They can come as I don't care if they Latin, I don't care if Brazilian, Mexican, Chilean, I don't care. You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to hurt none of this. Motherfucker don't even.
marriage
Jesus
is
Christ.
an economic contract. It's an economic contract. Most women do not marry down in status. They marry up. And if you don't believe me, show me a rich white woman married to a broke-ass black man. Have you ever seen a rich white woman marry a broke-ass black man? No, you have not, and you never will.
Okay, and the thing that he's probably not going to bring up is the same phenomena happening from within those same groups. How often do you see a woman, a white woman of a certain status, marrying below her station, as it's said? Same thing for, saying certain black women who achieve a certain level of status and wealth, and the black men that they choose to date. You know what I'm saying? Or any particular group. He says this shit as if he says it as if this intersect of race and class, or really just this, he's talking about class specifically, but the intersection of it and interracial datings, he acts as if this isn't going on intra-racially. He is framing as if it's only happening interracially. And I hate to even use that term because there are no separate human races. We're all effectively the same fucking race. This is just different, genetic expressions of certain traits. But
because marriage ain't about love, it's not colorblind, and it is totally economic. So if marriage is an economic unification in a contract, how can we, who don't have enough already, give so much to the white woman and to white people who have already taken too much when we got all these black women out here who will never get married? Only 1 out of every 4 black women in America will ever taste marriage, and half of them who taste marriage will be divorced within 5 years. If you want to save the black family,
well, again, what he's not bringing up is that the national average in the United States for failed marriages is 50%. That's an average. And as much as he hates it, we are a very mixed society. Yeah, overwhelmingly it's white, but there's sizable portions of black and African descended peoples, significant portion of Asian descended peoples, Latin descended peoples, and there's not as many, but they still, they still out here, indigenous peoples. You know what I'm saying? And then, of course, people whom don't have such strict, ideas of who they are. You can't just call, any random African person African. They'll tell you specifically where the hell they're from. They'll be like, I'm Egyptian, or I'm from Zimbabwe, or I'm from fucking Madagascar, I'm from Ghana, I'm from, here. Same thing for any Asian, Latin, European countries. You don't just call, a German or a French or a Spanish, a Spaniard, European. They'll tell you what the fuck they are immediately. But the thing is, he wants to get very specific. He'll make allusions to certain things in society, like, oh, only 1 in 4 black women will taste marriage and shit, without listing off what he may bring it up. We'll play some more of this video without, immediately bringing up the fact that this, what are the numbers for different groups? and whatnot. It's like, yeah, let's talk about the plight, black people's in this respect of having stable relationships and the causes for that. But this, being very picky and selective with the information, he's just as bad as a lot of these right-wing reactionaries and shit, because deep down that's what he is. He's just coming at it from a place of like, oh, I'm non-violent, it's like a lot of these Nazis really, who say that they like, oh, we don't want to violently separate. We just want them to go and live over there and not have to see them and blah, 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 blah. But we don't want to have to force them. But the question always then becomes, so then what do you do with the people who don't willfully want to go the fuck over there? You know what I'm saying? And then like, oh, I guess then I guess they're asking for it. They're asking for an extreme response. That's really what it comes down to. But let's listen to more of this nigga speak.
You have to protect it. And in order to protect it, you have to be against interracial marriage. You can't say, I love the black family, but I don't have a problem with interracial marriage. Interracial marriage is eliminating the black family because it is not providing our women with enough available and able black men to be their husbands.
So it's not just white. It's not just white women. You just feel white women, Asian,
everybody. Nobody should be marrying out the race because there's political consequences, DJ Envy. I'll give you one right now. Naomi Osaka. Am I saying her name right? The tennis sister.
Naomi Osaka, yes.
Naomi, I love the sister, right? She knocked off the greatest of all time, the GOAT, in Serena. But guess what? Who is she representing in the upcoming Olympics? Is she representing Haiti? No. She representing Japan. So here you have a half African sister, an African sister, because there's no such thing as half African, our genes are dominant. So you got an African sister with a Japanese mother, and instead of going back home to your father's blood, Haiti, to represent the Africans in Haiti, you're instead going to represent the Japanese who've never done anything for black folks and are part of the Trilateral Commission with the American white power structure. But who taught her to play tennis? Did her Japanese mother teach her to play tennis, or did her black Haitian father teach her to play tennis?
So a couple of things. First of all, so Naomi Osaka, shout outs to her, is indeed half Haitian, half Japanese. And I believe the reason that she stated why she's not repping Haiti is that I think while she was conceived there or born in Haiti and whatnot, and her father is Haitian, that she was raised culturally. She actually came up primarily in Japan. And if he actually pays attention to Naomi Osaka's life, is that she, he does mention that like, oh, there's no such thing as a half African because our genes are dominant. That's not what dominant and submissive, genes, how they actually work. So when people talk about, oh, dominant, like, oh, black genes are dominant, whatnot, that doesn't mean if somebody that's black and somebody that's not black has a child, that means, oh, automatically they're black and shit. That's eugenics. And that's like one drop science that like, oh, your bloodline is polluted by, in the presence of this other genetic material. And also, these Hotep niggas are the kind that believe that, well, because black people, and really that's kind of vague, certain African peoples we have the longest, running lineage with, they say effectively that, oh, everybody else that's not black is a deviation, a bastardization of blackness, including white people who are the worst deviation from humanity, effectively saying that they're part, they call them Yakubs, after this doctor that has never actually existed, saying that he created them from apes. Created white people from apes, literally from primates. Anyway, so getting back to this whole thing about like dominant and submissive genes, that's not what it means. Is that there are certain genes that may have a more dominant presence, but so we can look at different people's ethnic groups and see that certain genes get passed down in certain siblings. You could have 5 kids, and each of them could have different traits, either from you or from either your parents. You know what I'm saying? And then of course there's environmental factors that bring out different, things in genes. There's certain parts of my family where people have freckles. There's certain, some other of us who have certain textures of hair. There's some of us who have certain kinds of laughs. There are certain members in my family whom we have a very specific laugh that other ones don't. And, so the thing is, it's a lot more random than that. And there's plenty of evidence of people whom, you would expect them to come out looking one way and they come out looking the opposite, and as well as those that follow particular trends. So the thing is, he speaks loose and fast with bringing up using real concerns. He's a good propagandist of using real concerns and insecurities that people have in life and then connecting it with false science and a lot of subjective truths, and really just his own preferences for resegregating society, basically. Oh, and also the last thing I was going to say is that about Naomi Osaka is black, effectively, culturally. She's always talked about Black Lives Matter, as going so far as to always rep the names of fallen black people who were killed, seen by police, by law enforcement and whatnot, or just deranged maniacs in society, and getting news coverage for it in her native Japan. She's been pushing for that. She's dating a black man, a prominent black rapper. Seeing the way that she dresses and styles her hair and presents and stuff. She talks about black shit. She doesn't talk like her voice and everything. She's not ratchet and shit. She's not pretending to be like a stereotype of blackness, but she is always repping blackness from a very pro-black stance, and a very, you could say, very American-centric or U.S.-centric. So this dude, Dr. Umar Johnson, he's a race baiter, and he's somebody who race baits from the black perspective.
Her black Haitian father taught her to play tennis. It's the African DNA. It's the African ancestors in that girl that's responsible for her tennis success. But instead of representing us, she gonna go represent the Japanese. Well, this is what you got to deal with when you make mixed race African children.
I think hold on, baby. I think her case is a little different though, because she identifies fully as a black woman. She definitely does.
So if you identify fully as a black woman, Charlamagne, why is she not representing Haiti?
I get it, but that's a little asterisk. Because if because she's putting her money in the black causes, she puts her money in the black organizations. She got a black boyfriend. Like she stands up for black causes.
See what Haiti going through?
Oh, 100%. 100%.
So do you know what?
I don't even know if Haiti got a tennis team, so I don't know. To be honest with you,
they don't have to have one. She will win the whole thing. But here's the point. If you look at the political situation that America and France has Haiti in, that they've been in since the Haitian Revolution of 1791, if you look at the fact that the children are being raped, robbed, stolen by whites, if you look at the fact that America and France have sabotaged the Haitian economy and the Haitian society, if Naomi was to represent Haiti one time, she can go back and represent Japan next time. But if she was to represent Haiti just one time, it would shine a light on all the injustices that the U.S. government and the French government are inflicting upon our
there's already plenty of attention. There's just not a lot of political willpower because of, yes, racism. France still holds a lot of debt over them, and they are a major international power. So it's going to take a coalition of people who are really brave and willing to put their necks out in order to get them to back the fuck off and forgive that debt. Haiti has received quite a bit of help. If you would actually follow up, with the shit in sight, different organizations and individuals who have cared about that. And the thing is, I don't know to the extent in which Naomi Osaka has brought up Haiti, but again, she's just a fucking tennis player. And the thing is, even though it's great in the ways in which she has spoken on black issues and black culture and whatnot, and getting, the names of different black people, notable black victims, there's only so much reach that can do. And he's saying that, like, oh, why should she go and do that? Saying if she should shine a light on this, it would really change things around. Let's be factual. It really wouldn't, to a certain degree. It really wouldn't, because there have been plenty of other celebrities, prominent celebrities from within and outside that country. I'm fasting and you look like a snack. Sorry, no can do. I brought my special lighting on just so y'all can soak it all in. It's all right. I don't mind being a snack. Gobble, gobble. But this dude, Umar Johnson, he's just deep down, he's just a hateful, ignorant person. You know what I'm saying? He's very selective with the information he brings on. He has his own narrative, and unfortunately, there are plenty of other black people who soak this shit up because they share the point of view. And if given the option that they would resegregate society and make things that way, and if they could also keep black people from interacting with non-black people, they would try to enforce that shit, most definitely. And Charlamagne is doing his best to try to defend against here. But the other thing about these people is that they're not reasonable, because they know that their shit really can't be delivered in a reasonable way. And he just doesn't have that kind of restraint, that kind of discipline. So he's coming off just way more unhinged, because deep down it's not a scientific. He tries to use science. He tries to use, bases and facts and history and shit like that. But really, it's just a very emotional, like, it's just a feeling. It's just emotions. That's all he's got.
brothers and sisters in Haiti, and it will demand from the international community some answers and some changes. She has a chance to almost rescue an entire nation of people, and she won't do it because she won't go into the Japanese blood. Then why she not doing it, brother?
I'm not saying she hasn't. To be honest with you,
she hasn't what? She's not representing Haiti.
She has not represented Haiti, but she speaks out against so many black issues. She probably has spoken on Haiti. I don't know.
Charlemagne,
but I do see her speak out a lot in regards to black issues.
Okay, but until she speaks out for the Haitians, and until she do something significant for her father's people who are responsible for the talent that she got, her father's people, her father who taught her how to play tennis in the first place, if it wasn't for a Haitian father, Charlemagne, she wouldn't be in that position. Show love to Haiti. The point that I'm trying to make.
Look that up, Dan. I'm asking the white man to look something up. I got you. Oh, yeah, because I'm sure I'm pretty sure I've heard her speak out against that.
But the point that I'm making is if she represented Haiti in the Olympics, here's what I'm saying, Charlemagne. You can't take a small, soft act of activism and try to use that to replace a major, significant act of activism.
What is so... So what the hell is she supposed to do? Is she supposed to go to Haiti and start a new revolution? Is she supposed to like become like an economic minister? Is she supposed to become a politician and whatnot? She's still just a professional athlete. All she would be doing is all she would be, because she already speaks of so many black issues and whatnot. For a lot of people, this would just seem like another hole in the peg. One of the benefits of her coming from being validated in many people's eyes as being a Japanese citizen and part of Japanese culture and society, while also being, part Haitian, part black, is that she can bring up issues that normally don't get the kind of attention that they deserve. Because it is a lot more expected for somebody that is black and being pro-black and cares about black people to stick up for causes in Haiti. And again, I don't know the extent in which she has talked about Haiti, but he's saying that like, oh, she's doing this insignificant, sort of activism in which she could be doing a much more significant one. Again, he's being very selective with the information he's bringing up. And this dude's just a piece of shit. She would be doing the exact same thing. She would be doing the exact same thing, and all the same players and people who would want to focus on that shit, would care about it, because Haiti has been in the spotlight for a while before the major earthquake that they had years ago, and also following, which, really wrecked their infrastructure. But everybody, the world, so many parts of the world were watching and trying to help Haiti get its shit back together. I don't know how the progress stands at this point, but there's definitely been plenty of helping hands.
You understand? Making one or two news bites during the context of a press conference is not the same as representing the Republic of Haiti on the international stage. Even if she says something, I don't care about that. You had a chance to represent the people who are responsible for you being who you are, and you chose not to do it. I'm not knocking her. I'm a fan of her. I want to be clear. I'm not knocking my sister. In fact, I would probably have more criticism for her father, because I want to know what you put in that little girl that has her running to Japan instead of Haiti to represent them in the Olympics. Here's the point I'm making. When you have mixed race African children, these are the types of issues you're going to have to deal with, because until African people get out of situation.
She was born in Osaka. She was born in Osaka. So
that's why she has to play for them.
Can I ask you a question?
So she was born there. She literally has her citizenship there. Culturally, she was raised with that. And, but like a lot of people from mixed heritage or just having a heritage, you can still get passed on certain stories, certain traditions, and a certain mind frame, a certain way of looking at yourself and those of the shared, lineage. She was born in Osaka, and yet she still chooses to speak on a lot of black issues, especially from a very pro-black sentiment and from a very Western, you could say, centric perspective. And, you effectively have to represent for wherever you have your citizenship or wherever you were, people mostly recognize you. You gotta rep the home team and shit. And as far as him making this connection between like, oh, it's in her blood. Basically what he's making the insinuation is that like when he asks like, oh, I want to know what he put in her, to make her think blah 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 blah. What do you think he put in her? He put fucking half of his fucking genes and half of his fucking her Japanese mother's genes. That's what the fuck is in her. She's mixed, motherfucker. And culturally, and the thing is, even somebody's genetic material when you talk about then environmental factors, the country of origin, the culture, the region, and everything, those are also influences, you know, saying on who a person is and their mindset and how they look at the world. You know what I'm saying? This dude said that he's not hating on her. He says that like, oh, I'd probably be more angry at her father. Fuck you, dude. He's way more open-minded and done way more with his life than you ever fucking will. I think this dude's like a psychologist. I don't even know if he actually practices psychology and whatnot, if he's even certified. But this is what people like him do. They get certain kinds of certifications so they can go around and say that I'm a doctor of this, I'm a professional of that, I did that, blah, 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 blah. But not tell you that they got laughed out of their respective careers, or they never really saw things through because there's certain processes and certain, gatekeeping that you got to get past. But they know that their shit doesn't pass the snuff. It doesn't pass, and so they have to go this route by ingratiating themselves with different people in the media, different people in society from the cultural angle, because they know they can't be let into most angles in business and academia and whatnot. Yeah, she's mixed. She's mixed, ethnicity wise and culturally wise. And hell, I mean, the thing is, you can even say that for anybody who just chooses, who becomes enamored with different cultural expressions in different groups, and finds different forms of expression that they think speaks to them, and that they take it seriously and incorporate it into themselves and become saturated in that shit. But these closed-minded motherfuckers think they're speaking the truth and everything, when it's really just hatred, it's really just ignorance, and because they're loud and aggressive and assertive, more moderate, level-headed people get intimidated by them and feel as if they have to let them on, because as you can see from the views here, it's only been up for I think a week, just under 2 weeks. Over 250,000 views, 10,000 like versus dislikes, and how many comments is down here? Is it? How many comments? Almost 8,000 comments. So he gets conversation going, and this is the name of the game.
Envy?
Yes, sir.
If a European Jew is born in Africa and he plays tennis, is he going to represent Africa, or is he going to represent Israel?
First of all, if he was from Israel, he'd be Israeli. All right, Jewish people from Israel are quick to distinguish. Again, just like he brings up African and shit. Do you think Egyptians allow themselves to be confused with Madagascarians or South Africans or people from Ghana or Nigeria or Zimbabwe or is Angola over there? Angola is definitely there. Oh, excuse me, Algeria. I think Angola as well. But in any case, just like and then the thing is, there are Ethiopian Jews. There are Jewish people from the United States. There are Jewish people all across Europe. So are you saying that there's only one group of real Jews? Now, he actually does believe that there's only one real group of Jews. He doesn't think it's Israelis ones, or he thinks it's the black ones, effectively the Ethiopian ones. But that Jewishness has multiple unclear ethnic genetic roots and genetic roots or ethnic roots, but also it's also a set of cultural practices and a religion. So to a certain degree, a lot of it can be adoptive, just as there are plenty of Jewish people who are ethnically Jewish, who are considered Jewish ethnically, but don't practice the faith, who are secular. He's a fool. He's a damn fool. So yeah, if a Jewish person was born in saying Sudan, whatever, and he speaks whatever the language is there, and they grew up eating that, and that's the team they play on, and that's the home team and shit. Guess what? That's a Sudanese Jew that is going to be representing for for Sudan first, and then for Africa, and then sub-Saharan Africa. So this dude just has a very limited way of looking at the world. Let's finish this clip and then get into the beef that he's having with the man we were just talking about, Kevin Samuels.
Probably Israel.
Thank you. So it ain't got nothing to do with where you're born. It's where your loyalty is. And until black people get organized, fellas, many of our mixed race children are going to identify with the other race because they doing better than we are.
And I just want to end it there because there's really nothing else to be gained at that. But I'm actually glad that he said that because of what kind of the thing that he was alluding to again with mixed race and whatnot. He finally said what he really meant was, or more in more explicit terms, that simply having those genetic roots, simply having mixed ethnic heritage, forces you to have dual loyalties. And that those loyalties then for some reason have very specific geographic loyalties. Disregard the fact, all the different regional differences and that there's plenty of infighting within these groups and shit like that. He's just an ignorant piece of shit. He's just an ignorant piece of shit, and it's just a bigot. And unfortunately, this shit is tolerated in the black community because of a lot of the negative, anti-blackness and history of fucked up things that happen to black people. So there's been excuses given or passes given to certain figures and certain ideologies that would be chased out of the room in non-black circles, or specifically like white circles, are tolerated more so here. Because especially when you're talking about like liberal or progressive, left wing, non-black people, this shit wouldn't go down. They wouldn't accept it for their groups, but for some reason, not for some reason, but black people, it gets a pass, and I don't like that shit. But in any case, let's see what the beef is going on between these two. Dr. Umar Johnson comes for Kevin Samuels. Can I get a short one? Yeah, let's get a short one. Actually, let's probably watch. Let's watch this No Jumper. I like the coverage that they do.
Do you love boating? Well, Freedom Boat Club makes
Hell
boating
nah.
easier than ever.
People have been calling this the showdown, that it's going to be a Hotep versus a Nig cell. And some people have been calling it that. I think that's fucking hilarious. A Nig cell versus a Hotep. If it actually came to hands, I mean, the Hoteps win. They're just, the ideology encourages that, just being a fucking, just super aggressive and willing to engage in violence. Even though Kevin Samuels can come off a lot better in the eyes of the media and everything, and social media to some degree.
News, it's Adam 22 here with your man AD. Let's get right into these stories. So first things first, people on Twitter are in an uproar this week after a war of words has seemingly kicked off between Dr. Umar Johnson and Kevin Samuels. Recently on Instagram Live, Dr. Umar seemingly called out Kevin Samuels and other YouTubers profiting from making black women feel bad. Kevin Samuels has made a name for himself advising men, and mostly women, who come to him for help. Women explain their situations to him, and he finds a list of reasons why they're not in a relationship with their ideal man, often telling women they're not as attractive or valuable as they believe.
Black women, I count about a dozen. I'm gonna call them the dirty dozen of division. The triple D, the dirty dozen of division. There's about 12 members of the dirty dozen of division, 12 beta males, YouTube life coaches, who are trying to build a platform by making black women feel bad. I don't like it. I can't appreciate black men trying to make a dollar off of making black women feel bad. And unfortunately, our black women, some of them are so thirsty for validation that they're participating in the attacks and slander against the black female community, and that's not acceptable. That's not acceptable.
Dr. Umar's comments came after Kevin insulted him, claiming that Umar has 2 children by women he has not married and has not finished building the school he had been advertising for years. He then mocks Dr. Umar before giving him a shout out, saying he doesn't have a problem with him.
Right? You mean Dr. Umar Johnson, the man who has 2 children by 2 different women that he never married? Dr. Umar Johnson, the guy that for the last 10 years has not built brick one of a school he's collected money from? Dr. Umar, hold on, ma'am. Dr. Umar Johnson, the man who calls you queen, mother, goddess, and all this other kind of stuff. And again, for those who are keeping score, this is another woman who comes on and says, talk to us more like Umar. The Prince of Pan-African. Big Papa's in the house. Run my donations. I mean, shout out to Umar. I ain't got no problem with the dude, but I think it's funny y'all keep coming over here asking everybody to talk like Umar.
Dr. Umar Johnson's memes are pretty popular, but he's also a doctor of clinical psychology and certified school psychologist who works with inner city schools and children with behavioral issues. Sides are being picked on social media as fans attempt to pit the two men against each other. Dr. Umar didn't directly name Kevin Samuels in his live stream, but he later returned to Instagram to share that people have taken the soundbite and used it to create empty entertainment. At this time, it's unknown if this so-called beef will heat up beyond this moment, but we hope that these two gentlemen can find some common ground. AD, I'm going to give you the floor on this one. What do you feel about this criticism of Kevin Samuels?
First of all, I'm AKA AD Samuels. We're with the guy all the way. The shit is stupid, bro. Like, I don't understand what's the big uproar. I can understand from women getting their feelings hurt and shit like that, but Dr. Umar, like, you know what the nigga is saying is true. You feel me? Like, I'm happy that we got somebody like Kevin that can keep it real and not be afraid to jump out. Versus in this cancel culture right now when everything's happening like that. Like, you know, women, a lot of women, they think that they're more valuable than what they are. You feel me? And just because you can give somebody a piece of ass doesn't mean that you bring value to a relationship. You know what I mean? So
we live in a society that really wants to instill self-esteem in women to such an extent that Kevin Samuels coming out and saying, well, actually, I don't like the way that a lot of women act, and I think that the way that they're acting doesn't ultimately make them happy, and it's not good for the family unit and whatnot. I mean, to me, Kevin Samuels is addressing some pretty obvious societal issues, and it's a super easy way, as you can see here, like Dr. Umar is doing, it's a super easy way to get a bunch of positive comments and to get a lot of love from the community by just saying, well, actually, women are perfect. There's nothing wrong with them. I don't think that's true. And we, as a society, we have there's nobody who ever takes a moment of pause before pointing out all the ways in which men are bad and men are failing and men are not doing what they're supposed to do and how men could be better. I don't see what's so controversial about Kevin Samuels basically being willing to take a similar position.
And when you reverse what Kevin Samuels saying, you project that to the men. Adam, you interview a lot of women. Maybe 90% of them women, if you ask them, if you found the love of your life and they worked at Petco, would you fuck with him? No, he's broke. Like, that's how the society is right now. So y'all, you women, you guys look at us as, you know what I'm saying, you equate us about how much money we make, you know what I mean, when you deal with somebody and stuff. You don't want a man that makes less than you know what I mean? You look down upon that. So when we say, hey, we want more than just some ass, you got to bring something else to the table, I don't feel like nothing's wrong with that. It's an even playing ground.
Definitely. And I think that, a lot.
And that's part of the reason why Kevin Samuels, I think ultimately will come out better for this, because they're like, as these two mentioned, you know what I'm saying, and it did it in a way that was a lot less inflammatory than Kevin Samuels, that he says stuff that a lot of people do agree with. Then when it comes to compatibility in the dating marketplace, it has been accepted, that men are looking for certain things and women are looking for certain things, and that what women are looking for in terms of seeking a male partner is what's referred to as hypergamy. It's rare that you'll see a woman who marries into somebody of a lower social status. They have to be at least equal, and oftentimes, of a higher status, to lift them up. Right. And it's commonly accepted that it's becoming more popular now that, women can, will openly say that, a man is just there for, to essentially be a bag boy, be like a personal assistant and just help them, get through life and whatnot. Kevin Samuels, I don't like the way he goes about it. He does it in a very bitter, one-sided way. But at the very least, he's hinting at something that people can't acknowledge. Whereas Umar Johnson, his shit is just coping mechanisms. You know what I'm saying? Because as it's rightfully pointed out by Kevin Samuels, it's not as big a deal that he has 2 kids by 2 different women that he isn't married. I mean, that's obviously much more of a sticking point for him. But just pointing out the fact that, somebody like Umar Johnson talks all this shit, kind of like with Steve Harvey from earlier about, being so Pan-African and loving women and saying how important romance and marriages are and shit. And it's like, nigga, you can't you're part of the fucking problem. And that doesn't mean somebody who makes, we're all imperfect. That doesn't mean somebody can't make good points while making bad ones. But it's like his points are shit. The points he makes are shitty. They come from a really shitty place. And the best point that Kevin brought up is Kevin Samuels brought up in that is that he has been collecting money for this school. That's the way I primarily know of him, is that this nigga has been going around for years collecting donations and money to build this, certain kind of school. But it seems he's much more interested in just building up his media presence and building up his influence as a personal speaker and shit like that.